Guys, well, welcome. Welcome to our science luncheon. My name is Dr. Sierra Dedeker, and these science luncheons are put on by One Team Global Core Team. And what we do is show up here and broadcast it from Zoom to the One Team Global Live page, where you can see us in the morning as well. But these are a once a month deeper dive into science that we host. So you can catch us here on the first Thursday after the workshop, soon to be Fridays, at noon Mountain Standard. Right. Thank you. Okay. We're being recorded. Here we go. So, science luncheon. Here we go. We have an awesome topic for you today. We're going to be talking about gut health and products that we have that will help integrate into optimizing your absolute best gut health. And then we'll talk about why that's important. So, for anyone that you know that needs to be listening to this webinar, you can tag them on the One Team Global Live page, tag them in that recording so that they can get this information. So, without further ado, I am going to intro our amazing guest speaker who I love working with. He has been aligned with Nu Skin for over 20 years, and he is our expert technical communicator. So he knows how to make the difficult concepts very simple, which is why we love having him on. So he started in the tech department and product and answering all the questions. So he knows how to talk to people. He knows our products inside and out. He's passionate about science, which makes him brilliant at all the things we do and getting you guys this detailed information to then share it with the world and help other people do good. So Tanner Gibb is on with us today, and he's going to be talking about gut health. So Tanner, take it away.
Will do. Thank you for that intro. I will do my best to go slow for the translation. Okay.
Yes. Oh, and let me say that, sorry, we have Spanish translation. I was even reminded to say it, but I get going so quick. We have the amazing JR Fernandez that is translating to Spanish. So hop into the translation room if you need Spanish translation. Thank you, Tanner.
Perfect. You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. So let me share my screen and we will jump right in and not waste any time here. Grab a snack, get some water, stay hydrated. We're going to go through this. It's a very interesting topic, talking about the gut. So I'm going to share some science geeky things today, but hopefully in a way that people can understand and relate to what I'm talking about. Yeah, I've been with the company for a long time. I travel the world training and talking about the science and making it simple for people to understand, because I truly believe the world needs what we have to offer. And it's a great, fascinating thing. So what's your gut? What's your microbiome? Look, your microbiome is essentially all of the microbes that live inside of your body, okay? Especially inside of the gut. In fact, you have a microbiome for your skin and other organs, but we're talking about the gut today. So these are bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, but mostly bacteria. And these bacteria anciently were thought of as being really bad. So we had all these bad guys living inside of us that are making us sick. But in reality, today, we know that there are some bad bacteria that can cause inflammation and infection and make us sick and fatigued and all of these bad things. But there's also a whole bunch of good bacteria that live inside of us. These are the good bugs that promote good health. And it used to be thought that these microbes only play a role in your intestines and digestive health. However, today we know that they impact essentially every part of your body. So the physiology of the way that you think, in your mood, in your brain, your gut is literally a second brain. There is a axis that connects your brain to your gut and your gut to your brain in producing hormones, peptides, neurotransmitters, things like serotonin and dopamine. And there's this direct connection, which is why when your gut isn't doing that great, guess what also suffers, right? Your brain, your ability to think, your mood, your cognition, even your ability to think and recall information. And at the same time, when you're nervous up here in your brain and you have, anxiety and you're not feeling too good, well, guess what? That can cause changes in your gut, right? That's why if you go on stage and you're really nervous and you get some butterflies or your stomach is moving all around, well, there's this direct dual bi-direction connection between the gut and the brain. But it's not just the gut and the brain. It's the gut and your immune system. In fact, most of the immune system or the immune cells that you have, like different goblet cells, et cetera, they live inside of your gut. So that's part of your initial innate quick immune response, all found within your gut. Your gut is connected to your skin and how beautiful you look, which is why beauty from the inside out is a real thing. Your gut is connected to your lungs and how you breathe and respiratory health. Your gut is connected to your heart and uh, your circulation and so many different facets. But the point I want to make is that a lot of people, when they go to fix different things in their life, they forget about the importance of the gut and how the gut microbiome can connect all of these things. Okay. So at the bottom there, you can see many factors impact your gut microbiome for better or worse, right? We have diet. Now, if you have a good diet and you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables and fiber-rich foods like whole grains, that's going to be good because you're feeding your microbiome good stuff. But if you're eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of fried foods, a lot of high sugary foods, well, it can be for the worse, especially overconsumption of calories too, including in activity levels. If you're active and exercising, that can improve the diversity of your microbiome, which seems to be a good thing from the science. What about stress? If you manage your stress, that's great. If you don't manage your stress, it can impact your microbiome, right? Travel. Has anyone out there been traveling recently or in the past? You know, when you travel, sometimes you're a little bit more accustomed to traveler's diarrhea or constipation, right? Your stress, your gut microbiome is impacting some of those things. Infections, right? You get sick, that can impact your microbiome very, very quickly. Medications, things like antibiotics, right? Anyone ever taken those before? Well, they have their time and place, but at the same time, they're almost like planting a little tiny bomb inside of your gut that, yes, it can destroy some of the bad bacteria, but it also destroys some of the good bacteria, wiping out that healthy microbiome that we have. And then alcohol, at least in excess, has been shown to damage your microbiome. So good and bad things that we can do. And all of us, I believe, can make improvements. So with that background, let's talk about New Biome, which is one of our solutions for people that are searching for improved gut health. Now, New Biome is using the benefits of prebiotics and postbiotics, okay? These might be new terms for you, so let me describe them. Prebiotics are nutrients that act as fertilizer for the growth of healthy bacteria inside of the gut, okay? It's like the good nutrients that help to fuel the survival, how these microbes thrive and survive inside of the gut. So these are good things. They can be found in diet, but we usually don't get a lot from diet alone. Postbiotics. Postbiotics are unique ingredients where the benefit actually comes from the cell wall or the metabolites that it produces, even though it's not a live bacteria anymore. Contrast that with probiotics, okay? Probiotics, they're fantastic. They're great, but not all probiotics are created the same. One of the major limitations of probiotics is that they tend to degrade very, very quickly in a product or a food. So the amount that is put in when the product or the supplement is made is usually not the amount, not even close to the amount that you get as a consumer when you actually take the product. So food sources of probiotics are things like yogurt, kimchi, pickles, sauerkraut. And that's usually what a lot of people go to when they have some gut microbiome issues that they think are impacting their body. They're like, hey, I'm going to go to the store and eat a whole bunch of yogurt. And you try that, and sure, it might work for some, but for the majority, you're like, okay, it didn't really solve the issue I was looking to solve. And that could be because, look, not all probiotic strains are created the same. The probiotic strain degrades very, very quickly, meaning that it's not very stable. And then number three is that, hey, if the probiotic isn't resilient enough to bypass the acidic environment of the stomach to actually colonize in the gut, it's not providing the benefit that you think you're getting as a consumer. So like I said, probiotics, they have their time and place, but with New Biome, we wanted to create a more unique solution for the gut that can be just as good, if not more powerful, because of these prebiotics and postbiotics that we selected for this product. So let's talk about what's inside of this product. It has a powerhouse of ingredients that really can change lives for people that are looking to improve their gut. Probably the hero ingredient in this formula is XOS, or xylo oligosaccharide. This is a prebiotic that promotes healthy, beneficial bacteria in the gut to support a healthy microbiome in digestion. So what does that mean? In the science, XOS is a very powerful prebiotic that is effective even at 1 gram. Okay, you compare this to something like inulin, which is a very common prebiotic that's found sometimes in supplements or in foods like bananas, for example. That said, you usually need about 5 grams to 10 grams of inulin to have a positive effect on the microbiome. However, at those doses, they can also cause some side effects like gas and bloating and stomach pain, things that we're actually trying to avoid if we have gut issues to begin with, right? So this is why I love XOS. It's so powerful, even at a low dose. When you look at the clinical studies, and there's many, it shows that it quickly changes the microbiome for the better. It helps to increase the number of bifidobacteria and lactobacilli, which are generally healthy bacteria for us inside of the body. In addition, there are no side effects when taking these in these clinical studies, at least no more compared to the placebo group. So they're very safe and they're very well tolerated. And at the same time, one of the main things about this prebiotic is that it's studied to help with bowel movements and bowel regularity. So I know it's not sexy to talk about going to the bathroom, but it is a good indicator of how well your microbiome is doing, right? Because it can go either way. And what this does is XOS has a really nice balancing effect to help with regularity when you take it on a regular basis. Okay. All right. BPL1. This is Bifidobacterium lactis BPL1. This is our postbiotic. This is a very powerful ingredient that is actually more effective as a postbiotic compared to a probiotic, likely due to the improved stability where it doesn't decline over its shelf life. And it complements the benefits of the XOS for a healthy microbiome overall. Caffeine. Caffeine is a great ingredient, and there's only 50 milligrams per serving. There is a rationale for having this in the product, although I will mention in the US market, we do have a caffeine-free version as well. So if you like caffeine, great. If you like that boost of energy, I should point out, it's not the type of mitochondrial energy for producing ATP. It's more of blocking some of the receptors that cause fatigue in the body. And by doing so, it helps with feeling more alert and more awake and more energetic and ready to go and take on the day's task. So caffeine, because it can disrupt quality sleep, especially when taken at nighttime, I recommend taking it earlier in the day or in the afternoon. But the other cool thing about caffeine is that one of the mechanisms is that it helps to promote the release of dopamine, which helps to trigger a feedback in the body for helping you to ingrain good habits. And so when you take this and you feel good, that's a good sign to your body and your brain that says, hey, I should keep taking this because I feel good. So the caffeine has an immediate benefit, whereas the XOS and the BPL1, those take a little bit longer, usually about 4 to 8 weeks to really begin to do their thing inside of the body and have these benefits from the clinical studies. Pomegranate. Pomegranate is a very super antioxidant. Most people don't get it from diet alone. We're using an effective dose to help combat oxidative stress. In very simple terms, oxidation is where you have too many free radicals that damage your cells and accelerate aging in the body, and they can lead to some problems. Pomegranate is one of the most powerful antioxidants out there. It's super beneficial and good for you. Some of the ingredients in polyphenols in pomegranate actually go undigested, and they are metabolized by the microbes in your gut. So even though pomegranate is not defined as a prebiotic, it has a little bit of prebiotic-like activity. So it really complements not only the antioxidant benefits, but the microbiome benefits of the entire formula. So there's a rhyme and reason for all of these ingredients coming together in this product. So what are some of the key benefits of Nubiome? You can read here on the screen. It supports a healthy microbiome and intestinal health. It supports a healthy balance of good and bad bacteria, helps support healthy digestion, helps with supporting healthy energy, and supports regularity with daily consistent use. So these are all the approved benefits and claims of the product. It's interesting to me as a scientist because I get to talk to people who take the product and they realize and notice that the benefit of supporting their microbiome is impacting so much else for them in the body. And I love to hear those kinds of things too. So a few more things about Nubiome. The recommended usage is just 1 serving per day mixed with your beverage of choice, right? I mix it with water personally, but some people like to mix it with their shake or their smoothie or with their food, whatever works for you. It does have a delicious raspberry watermelon lemonade flavor. I should tell you, we experimented internally with a lot of different kinds of flavors, and this flavoring system and sweetener system ended up being the best by far. Some of the ingredients like caffeine are actually quite bitter and don't taste very good. So I think we did a really good job. We actually have food scientists on board, and we do a lot of testing internally. It is vegetarian friendly. It is free from artificial colors, flavors, and sweeteners. It is gluten-free. And down there at the bottom, I added a frequently asked question, and this is about bloating. So bloating was not the focus of our formula. So it wasn't formulated directly to address bloating. However, as I mentioned before, right, your microbiome can impact digestion, right? Your microbiome can impact bloating. So indirectly, when you have a healthier balance of these microbes and you're increasing the good and decreasing the bad, it can actually help people who are struggling with bloating. So keep that in mind. There's no surprise scientifically when people say, oh my goodness, I'm seeing this benefit, I'm noticing this benefit. Well, it's not directly because it wasn't studied for that, but indirectly, we know that the microbiome plays an absolutely critical role, right? In all of these different facets of digestion. Okay, let's switch gears. That's Nubiome in a nutshell. Okay, we're going to talk about ageLOC Meta now. ageLOC Meta is one of my favorite products. It's one that I take on a regular basis. It's actually one of our top sellers around the globe, and I think for good reason. It's because the science of this product is really good, and it's unique and innovative to us. So I love this tagline here, helps counteract your modern lifestyle. Now, what is your modern lifestyle? Is it living really, really good and doing all of the good things? Or is your modern lifestyle a little bit chaotic, right? Are you stressed out all of the time? Are you anxious with day-to-day living? Are you not eating the diet that you know that you should? Are you exercising enough, right? When we look at the data is very clear that the modern lifestyle is accelerating aging, right? Especially in the Western world, that seems to be spreading to the rest of the world. There's a reason we call it the standard American diet. Standard S, American A, diet D. Sad, right? It is a very sad diet. It's a very sad lifestyle that we live where we're more sedentary than ever before. We're not eating the right foods. We're stressed out. And this is having a negative impact on our body's metabolic health. So let's dive in and talk about what that is. Okay. Metabolic health is more than just your body's metabolism or how fast or how slow it is that you burn calories. Okay. Metabolic health in a nutshell is how your body digests food, how it converts that into energy, how it stores energy for future use, and how it excretes these metabolic byproducts inside the body. So metabolic health is super critical to your energy and the way that you live. The problem, when you look at the data, and this is a study published in 2019, you can see that only 1 in 8 of us is metabolically healthy. Now, this is a generous estimate. There are actually newer published studies showing that it's closer to about 1 in 13 or 1 in 14 that have optimal cardiometabolic health. Okay. This is looking at factors like glucose control, cholesterol, waist circumference, blood pressure, right? These are some of the biomarkers of our body's metabolism. So these things are very critical to take care of. And it really saddens me when I see these numbers. Now, a lot of us think, okay, I'm that one individual. I'm good. I don't have to worry, right? But the numbers don't lie. And even for young individuals, right? You think, hey, this might be an old person problem. Hey, it's just the old people or the overweight people that have poor metabolic health. That's not true. Even in younger individuals, there are growing metabolic concerns. And I should say, even individuals with healthy weights, there are growing metabolic concerns with these biomarkers of health. And they're absolutely critical to the way that we live and to our health, to our quality of life. And they're super critical to take care of. So let's talk about metabolic health. I already mentioned this a bit, but at a high level, metabolic health is how your body interacts with your lifestyle, right? So all of the stress, the anxiety, the thinking in the brain, your physical habits as well, right? The diet, the lifestyle, the exercise. Well, it's impacting all of these thousands of biochemical reactions in the body that are impacting digestion of nutrients and energy usage and storage and metabolic waste and how we get rid of it. Some of the key biomarkers of all of these thousands of chemical reactions are as listed here, right? Blood pressure, right? So impacting your heart and these blood vessels and how healthy they are and getting circulation and nutrients to the rest of the body. Blood sugar, which we know is absolutely critical. Now, blood sugar goes up and down normally when we eat carbohydrates. However, sometimes that can get out of control and we can get these spikes and these crashes that can impact our mood, that can impact our fatigue, they can impact our cravings, and too much over time can negatively impact our health, right? Insulin sensitivity. Now, insulin is the hormone that comes from our pancreas when we have sugar in the bloodstream, right? So we eat some carbohydrate foods. Anyone have any favorites out there? Breads, rice, pasta, chocolate, sugars, right? Whatever it is, we eat that and our sugar goes up, right? Called glucose. And then the insulin comes and says, hey, let's grab that glucose and let's take it into our cells to be used for energy. And sometimes it overshoots. And then we store too much or the blood sugar comes down too much. And it really is this balancing act where we want a healthier response inside of the body. Abdominal fat. So this is the fat that builds up around your stomach. And this isn't the good kind of fat, right? This is actually called visceral fat that builds up around your organs. This is different from the fat that's just around your skin, right? So you have abdominal fat, which is actually a negative indicator of healthy aging. And so the more abdominal fat that you build up, the poorer metabolic health that you have. And all of these factors are actually connected. Cholesterol, right? We know that cholesterol is inside the body. It's a transporter nutrient. We have both LDL and HDL. And we want some is good. Too much can actually lead to some concerns where you have, plaque that can build up from an inflammatory reaction where it tries to repair the damage and that can get into your blood vessels and impair things like circulation and et cetera. So all of these things are connected. Triglycerides, these are fats that build up inside of the bloodstream. And we know too much of these can be bad as well. So these are all just kind of the key biomarkers. I'm not going to say all of them, but they're kind of key ones that we need to be looking for. Now, why are these critical? Because these can impact the way that you age, right? So all of these things can affect your inflammation inside of the body. We know that chronic inflammation is not good for aging. Chronic inflammation can come as a result of poor metabolic health, and that can negatively impact your body's immune system, right? Your immune system keeps you healthy. The point I like to make here is that when your immune system is working, you actually secrete these inflammatory cytokines to help fight off whatever's making you sick and then bring it back to normal. However, if you have this chronic inflammation from poor metabolic health, it actually stunts your immune response. So your immune system isn't as effective, and it actually delays the healing in the ability to actually return your body to ground zero or back to normal as well. Vital organs. So these are things like your heart and your liver, for example. Your liver is a really good example of a metabolic organ where most people think of the liver as something that, hey, this is just going to filter out the toxins in the body and call it good. But no, it plays a role in your metabolism. It plays a role in energy. And you certainly don't want, fat building up inside of your liver or other tissues, right? That's another example of this visceral fat that can build up in the body when we have an abnormal metabolic response inside of us. So taking care of our organs is critical and connected. Metabolism and microbiome and gut health. This is a lot to handle, but I am trying to simplify it. The main point here is, look, your lifestyle is impacting all of these biomarkers, and we need good solutions for them because they're impacting how you feel on a day-to-day basis. So what can we do about it, right? You can see here we have healthy versus unhealthy choices. And I don't need to go through these. I've already talked about a few of these, but we all know what's good and bad for us. And, wherever you are on this spectrum, my recommendation to you is to find ways in your life to be a little bit more dedicated to making small improvements. Okay. You're not going to go from completely unhealthy to healthy in one day. Okay. You can't erase, for example, 40 years of bad choices in one day. It doesn't work like that. But you can start to move the needle by making better choices in your life. And I invite everyone listening to this call to commit to doing at least one or more of these things, right? If you're not exercising, the minimum recommendation, which is about 150 minutes of moderate exercise per day, I invite you to consider that. Now, if you're only exercising 0 minutes per day, don't go from 0 minutes to 150 minutes, right? It takes time, right? You want to scale up your improvements in health, whether it be exercise with committing to eating healthier foods and eating more fruits and vegetables, getting adequate sleep. You want to get good sleep. That's going to impact your body's metabolism. In fact, there are studies showing that one night of poor sleep can impact your body's glycemic response to the same food the next day. In other words, it's worse. Sleep is impacting your glucose control. Okay. Eat more fruits and vegetables, get your fiber, less stress, right? If you can avoid the stress, even better, but learning techniques to manage your stress as well. Meditation, exercise, healthy foods, getting adequate levels of magnesium, etc. Okay. In addition to some of these lifestyle changes, look, we have a supplement that can help too. Okay. And the supplement is actually really powerful and really good, has some immediate benefits and some long-term benefits. Now, the ingredients inside of this product are what we call anthocyanins. Okay. They come from these berry extracts. Now, berries, things like bilberries and black currants and black rice. I mean, they have black in their name because they look black, but it's actually such a rich, dark purple that they're almost black, but it's really just a dark purple color. So these colors or these pigments in nature, I mean, they're also found in things like, cranberries or blueberries, right? A lot of the reds, the blues, the purples, these are very powerful nutrients, but not all of these anthocyanins do the same thing inside of the body. And so what we did in selecting the black currant and black rice and bilberry is we actually did some exclusive to Nu Skin research where we looked at these anthocyanin compounds to see if they would have an impact on these intestinal cells that we have when it comes to permeability or how leaky these cells are. Okay. And what we found is that essentially certain types of anthocyanins called cyanidin and delphinidin, you don't need to remember that, but just know that there are certain subtypes of these anthocyanin pigments that were the most effective for overall metabolic health. And so using this screening process, we formulated ageLOC Meta and then did a number of preclinical and clinical trials that I'll hint at a little bit later in this presentation. So these anthocyanins, right, from berries. So think of your own diet. How often are you eating things like raspberries and cranberries and blueberries and blackberries and bilberries, right? Maybe a little bit, maybe a lot. Everyone's different, but when we look at the data in the published studies where you get these food surveys and questionnaires, you can see that the average adult is only consuming 28 milligrams. You compare that to 215 milligrams of anthocyanins, which is the dose that we have in ageLOC Meta, there's a big gap that we need to fill. And one of the reasons why people begin to notice benefits very, very quickly, because it's making a huge gap and a huge jump from where they are in their diet to where they should be for supporting better metabolic health inside their body. One thing I will point out for our US audience, you can see this study here. It was published from 2015. They looked at different countries around the globe. 25 is kind of an average. Anyone want to guess what it was in the United States? What do you think? Is it higher or lower than 25? If you guessed lower, you were right. It's actually closer to about 9 or 10 or 11 milligrams, looking at the different studies where they average it out. So we're doing even worse, whether it be a seasonal thing where perhaps you have more or less at different times of the year, you use it in smoothies, whatever it is, we're very lacking. And even if you are eating a lot of, say, raspberries on a regular basis or cranberries, they're not going to have the same subtypes of anthocyanins that we specifically put inside of ageLOC Meta. So from a totality perspective, we're very deficient, but especially from a specific subtype perspective, we're very deficient at where we need to be. So I mentioned we did a number of preclinical and clinical studies. This is just one clinical study, just highlighting at a high level here for you. So they took ageLOC Meta and we had them crossover in this study where they had a high-fat meal. I should add high carbohydrate meal as well. I wish I had a picture of the meal that we had them eat. It was this croissant sandwich with kind of some egg, some cheese, some sausage. We had some oil in it to get the calories up. It was 1,000-calorie meal, high in carbs, high in fats. And what we did is we had them take either the placebo or the ageLOC Meta supplement, and then we crossed them over where if they took the Meta supplement, then they took the placebo. If they took the placebo, then they took the Meta. So they kind of serve as their own control. And in this study, we saw improved metabolic health with some of the parameters that we looked at, including glucose, and inflammatory responses, looking at things like tumor necrosis factor, which is a marker of inflammation. So what we show here is that immediately to the digestion and the metabolic response of one single meal at 1,000 calories, high in fat and carbohydrates, we see immediate improved metabolic responses. So this is kind of cool because at the acute level, we can see that they're already starting to work, even though I do like to argue that true transformation for your metabolism is going to take a lot more than just one day, okay? It is going to take several weeks to see more dramatic improvements, but they start to work from day one. So this is one clinical study. If we had time and we could geek out all day, we'd actually dive in deeper and go through all of these preclinical studies and clinical studies that have been done just at a high level, summarizing all of the work that has been done here. We have pretty much proven that we needed to find the right subtypes of anthocyanins to be the most effective for the permeability of cells. I should probably describe permeability. That's kind of how quickly things travel through your cell. And too much permeability actually allows things that shouldn't be getting through your cells and into your system. You want the right level because your intestinal cells are selectively permeable, meaning that they allow some stuff in and they keep other things out. But when you apply inflammation to these intestinal cells, they become a little bit too permeable or too leaky, and they're allowing things in. The initial study that we did showed that even with inflammation that makes these cells more permeable, the anthocyanins protect against that leakiness or that permeability of the cell, showing that they have a protective response from that gateway or that barrier that we have in our gut from the very, very beginning. From that research, we did a number of preclinical studies showing some improvements in a lot of different metabolic biomarkers, things like metabolism, our glucose control, insulin sensitivity. And then we did a number of human clinical studies as well. One was an acute study that I mentioned. The other was a longer term study where we had individuals take anthocyanins and a prebiotic fiber. And we saw a really nice change on their microbiome over time, where it's shifting from more of the bad stuff to more of the good stuff. So really, really, really impressive preclinical and clinical data that we have. And all of these 7 papers have been published in scientific journals, and we can certainly share these references and these papers for those that are interested. Okay. What are the key differentiators, right? So from the science and work that we've done, look, it's getting the effective dose. That's absolutely critical. 215 milligrams of anthocyanins. Now, this isn't 215 milligrams of the different ingredients. This is the amount of anthocyanins. It's actually a higher amount of the extracts that are highly concentrated in these anthocyanins, but this is the total amount of these key bioactive compounds. So very, very important to keep in mind. I've had individuals talk to me and say, hey, I've seen some other product that has, 500 milligrams of bilberry. And I'm like, okay, well, how many anthocyanins are in there? They're like, oh, well, it just says 500 milligrams of bilberry. It doesn't say the level of anthocyanins. Well, what could be happening there is that it could just be powderized bilberry that isn't tested for anthocyanins. So you actually don't know as a consumer what level or if any of these active compounds you're actually getting from that particular product. So paying attention to those details is actually very critical. It aligns with the positioning of ageLOC. For those who don't know, ageLOC is a brand of supplements that we have that targets the sources of aging, where we do some incredible work looking at what is the source of the problem or the source of the issue happening inside of the body. In this case, we go as far upstream as possible with our selection of ingredients, with the work that we did to target the sources of metabolic health, which really begin in the gut. And then the gut is what's impacting our body's metabolism. This is 7 years of exclusive new skin anthocyanin research. This has been a discovery process for us scientifically, where we needed to do a lot of work to really discover and fine tune what these anthocyanins are, what are the best subtypes of these, what is the effective dose, and then put it to the test to see, hey, what effect does this have from all the research that we did to be able to position this in a unique way and be able to support it scientifically, and then clinically validated and studied. So just to kind of summarize all that I talked about with ageLOC Meta, well, what can I expect as a consumer, right? So if I'm considering taking this supplement, well, what are the benefits that I can receive? How does this impact me? Well, it supports your body's metabolic health. Keep in mind, metabolic health is a term for all of these different biomarkers that are super critical to the way that you live. It supports your core metabolism for improved well-being. It supports vital organ health, including liver and heart that I briefly touched on today. It supports a healthy inflammatory balance and immune activity for healthy cellular function. Now, this is critical, and I want to spend just a second here because a lot of times people associate inflammation in the bloodstream that is impacting your body cells, but most of the inflammation actually begins in the gut as part of that innate, quick, acute immune response that we have inside of the body. So supporting inflammation in the gut can not only impact immunity inside the body, but your overall metabolic health because of that connection and inflammation inside of the body. So it's promoting a healthy microbiome for better gut health. It's improving the antioxidant defense system, reducing oxidative stress, which is the excess free radicals that damage our cells. And then last but not least is maintain healthy blood glucose, okay? I want to emphasize this point here because, look, blood glucose is critical to how our body manages and utilizes energy, right? How we feel, how we store energy. If we don't have a healthy glucose response, or if we have too much glucose that builds up inside of the blood, it can lead to endothelial damage, which is damaging those blood vessels. It can lead to inflammation. It can lead to endotoxins or toxins that actually get inside of the body that shouldn't be there. And so maintaining healthy blood glucose, this is just one of many benefits here on the product, but it connects to so many different things in terms of how we feel and even how we look. So, well, gut health, I talked about two products today, right? I talked about a product with prebiotic and postbiotics, that is New Biome, right? That's the one in green in the bottom right-hand corner. That's going to be a gut health product that you want to take if you're like, I want to improve my digestion. I want to improve my microbiome. I want to improve my bowel movements, etc. Great. What if you're someone like, hey, do you know what? Metabolic health and gut health is critical to me. Well, if that's the case, then do you know what? Anthocyanins, as found in ageLOC Meta, that's going to be the one that you want to focus on and you want to take. Gut health, as you can see here in the middle, is diverse and complex, right? We continue to learn more and more about the importance of the microbiome every day. I mean, there are numerous studies that continue to be published day in and day out about the microbiome and what it does for us. And we know that it's not as simple as like, oh, just one little bacteria here that impacts everything in the body. No, it's so complex that you can take multiple gut health products that provide different benefits inside of the body. So with that, let me close it up and turn it back over to you, Sierra.
Awesome. Okay. I feel like we need a second seminar on stress management. So you're talking about one night of sleep messing it up. I went, oh, instant panic. Okay. So true. And I think so many people don't realize the multitude of benefits behind Meta. They just think, great, take it for metabolic health. But even that last slide where you sum it all up is profound, right? And things that it can do. So I think we've got a couple minutes for questions. I'd love to hit you with a few if you're good with that. So one thing we kind of didn't talk about, but in my research of anthocyanins, I was blown away with, really excited about. It was, I believe it was delphinidin, and it might have been that cyanidin, but either way, decreasing vasoconstrictor proteins to assist with blood pressure benefits, right? And so one of the questions I got was, is it okay to take well on blood pressure medicine? So can you address that one?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I do need to be careful with medicines and conditions, right? Because we're not a medical company.
Yeah,
Even if there are doctors that are listening, right? It really becomes a judgment call between, the patient and the doctor, if they can take the product or not. One thing that I do recommend when working with doctors and physicians is to have them monitor the parameter of interest for their patient, right? It's not like they need to understand all of the science behind, the ingredients and what they do and the studies, right? Because we're not studying it in a medical population, we're studying it in a healthy population. That being said, right, if the doctor has an issue with the patient eating berries, then maybe there's going to be a concern, right? If not, then it lessens the likelihood of it being concerning. And on the flip side, we know that these ingredients are very, very beneficial, right? As you mentioned, I mean, and I kind of alluded to it a little bit today, right? When we talk about our metabolism, it's more than just glucose, right? It's insulin, it's cholesterol, it's blood pressure. And you don't want constriction in those blood vessels, right? That's going to make your blood pressure go up. You want good circulation, and all of these things are connected. So it's even a more comprehensive way to be able to address blood pressure in the body by addressing multiple facets instead of just kind of a targeted approach, if that makes sense.
totally. Yep. I love it. I love it. And I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to this approach as opposed to others. So I love that. Okay. I also get a lot, age of use for Meta. Is there an age restriction as to when you could start taking it? Is it okay for teenagers, that kind of thing?
It's a good question. My official answer is going to be adults and above.
Yeah.
When you look at the literature, that's where most of the studies are. Does it mean that teenagers are going to be harmed by having berry extracts inside of their body? Let's be honest, most teenagers, most teenagers have an adult sized body anyway. And so it's likely going to be fine for them to take as well. But of course, it really depends on the benefit and what they're looking for. That being said, I think it's important to realize, look, even for younger individuals, we're trending in the wrong direction, right? With overweight, with obesity, with eating the wrong foods. And so the earlier, the better is going to be an optimal idea to consider in terms of taking care of your metabolic health. Because like I said, some people, they're going to wait 40, 50, 60 years. And then they're like, oh, okay, I want to reverse all of this damage that has been done. And it's like, no, you're much better off trying to stay on the healthy side of things as early in life as possible.
I love that. Okay, perfect. And on that note, as you talked about, don't expect to do it all at once. Don't go working out if you haven't been for an hour, right? I usually tell people try Meta for at least 90 to 120 days, at least 90 to see that clinical change and start feeling differences, especially if you're going to recheck labs or anything like that. Would you agree with that? I mean, that it's more like a 90-day commitment rather than 30.
Oh, absolutely. And I did mention you can experience benefits immediately, but it doesn't mean, go get a blood test today and then take it once and then see it again tomorrow, right? I mean, transformation, it just takes time. And I should point out some of the benefits are felt by individuals where they feel like they feel better, they feel more alert, they feel more energy. And for other people, they're like, I'm not really feeling that difference all at once. And for some of those people, it is going to take more time. But keep in mind, it wasn't designed to be an energy booster, even though it's impacting your metabolism. It's supporting these biomarkers. And a lot of these things, like your glucose, your insulin, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, these are silent markers inside of the body that most people don't even realize, where, you're super stressed out and your blood pressure goes up. You're not like feeling your blood pressure go up, even though it's happening. So
Yeah.
some of the benefits, even though they're not felt, they're still happening when you look at the studies and the literature supporting it. So yeah, I would say at least 90 days minimum.
Perfect. Okay. And then on Meta, and then one more on New Biome. I get a lot where people are like, great, if four is good, eight is better. And they want to take four in the morning and four at night. And I'll tell them, what you've told me before, as far as four is the clinical dose, that should be all you need. Is there any extra benefit to double dosing?
It's a great question. I mean, I wish we had a dose response study where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, do you get double the benefits? That's what everyone assumes. I take double the dose, the benefits are twice as good. And almost always that is not the case. That's not what happens. I can tell you there are literature studies that do study higher amounts of anthocyanins. So there is potential and it is going to be within the safe range, but take the clinical dose, start with that, see how you feel. When we formulate products, we're not trying to cut corners, we're not trying to put, the lowest dose possible of an ingredient that's going to have the most minimal effect, right? We're looking at the literature, we're doing the nice clinical studies, and you can get all of those benefits by taking that full effective dose. And that is actually one of the differentiators. And I kind of hinted at that in my training where I'm like, hey, some people are like, hey, I'm taking this other bilberry, so I'm good. And I'm like, well, sure, the number seems higher, but you may not be getting any active anthocyanins at all, right? There's a lot of ways to be deceptive in your marketing. And we try to be honest and upfront in our marketing, in our science, in our labeling. And yeah, you're good as is. Just take the clinical dose and trust us.
Love it. Okay. And then on New Biome, similarly, people say the same thing. Is two a day okay to do? Because a lot of people love the taste. They like it, either after coffee or in replace of. Then they want the caffeine boost in the afternoon. Like, I'm fine with two a day. Is there an issue with taking two of those a day? Can we overload
No,
for XOS?
I mean, eventually you could overload, but not with two a day. In fact, I've
Okay.
I've seen studies with XOS at least up to 8 grams. There might be higher,
Okay.
and there actually seem to be some different benefits that I shouldn't talk about on this call with higher doses of XOS above and beyond just acting as a prebiotic for the gut and for bowel regulatory benefits and digestion. So is it safe? Is it effective to take more? Absolutely. I'm not saying to take 8 a day to get to the 8 grams. But yeah, if you want to take two a day, that is fine. But I would still say, you know what, start with one a day. It is an effective dose. It's providing all of the claim benefits. And in fact, if someone ever wants to see all of the literature behind the support for all the benefits, like I can point to studies at the doses that we're using saying, hey, here's the study, it supports the benefit. And we're not looking at poor quality studies. We're looking at good quality, double blind, randomized studies, and then looking at exploring, actually currently, this is kind of a surprise note, a clinical study on New Biome as we speak. So we have literature on the individual ingredients, but we're looking at some new parameters to see if we can expand the claims that we have with this product in the future. So don't hold me to it. I mean, studies don't always pan out, but we're very, very hopeful of getting some new and exciting information from a clinical study that is ongoing as we speak. or about ready to be ongoing.
Can't wait. Okay. I love that. Well, I'll keep on you about that one and I'll let you guys know that are watching. And that would be super helpful, Tanner. If you could give me those links to the clinicals, I'll drop them in the comments so people can have access to them so you guys know where to find them. You can go through me. You don't have to bombard Tanner. So yay. Okay. Well, I think we've covered it all that I was looking to disseminate to the field today. Thank you so much for being on. Tanner, I can't even put it into words. I'm just so grateful every time for your contributions and what you do to fuel us up and give us the information we need to go forth and do good in this world. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here and for all your brilliance. JR, thank you so much for translating. Drop it in the comments if you guys were getting the translation and send him love because that was his first time translating some big, big words. So thank you, thank you. And then, of course, thank you to Scott Van Pelt, my hero in organizing all of these events and pulling together all the details. You are amazing, and I'm so grateful for you too. So, all right, guys, have a fabulous day. Tanner, thank you again. All right, bye, everyone.